So the hits keep coming from DC, and of course the stablecoin bill has been presented, and of course we seem like we got to win. We'll break all this down for you guys. It's going to be a lot of clips for you. It'll break it down what has been, again, multi hours of legislation, amendments, and a lot of clown foolery that we'll break down for you. Give you an idea what this might mean for crypto in general, especially around stablecoins. It's been a good one. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. Let's get into it. And I want to just go over to the bills themselves, give you guys a framework of what went in front of Congress and the House yesterday. House Bill number 4766, Clarity for Payment Stablecoins Act of 2023. This is offered, of course, by McHenry. And then also the Keep Your Coins Act is offered by Rep. Warren Davidson. Both Warren Davidson and Patrick McHenry, I would say right now, are probably two of the top 5 leading lawmakers that are really pro-crypto. And I think their bills got an interesting side note here, and we'll break it down for you guys to kind of get you into the frame of what's happening here, what these bills mean, because it is a big step forward in crypto as a whole. All right, I want to go to this first clip. And this first clip is where we're going to get into what is the stablecoin bill itself. So let's take a listen.
In the peer-to-peer digital economy, people around the world want to transact in dollars in real time using stablecoins. However, this administration's regulatory treatment toward the digital asset ecosystem is killing digital asset business in this country and making it hard for American issuers of U.S. dollar-backed stablecoins to compete globally. So guess where the U.S. dollar stablecoin transaction volume is flowing? It's flowing out of the United States regulatory apparatus and into things like Tether and other foreign-issued U.S. dollar stablecoins. This is a threat to the United States.
But we heard in testimony before this committee from Undersecretary Lang at the Treasury. She says, and I quote, "If stablecoins are backed by high-quality assets, the risk is quite low and they can form a building block, a cornerstone of a payment system. We establish a uniform federal floor by providing regulatory requirements that all stablecoin issuers, no matter where they're chartered or licensed, must follow regardless. These requirements are set and enforced by federal regulators. We put strict requirements in place around stablecoin reserves and capital to guard against potential runs. This means payment stablecoins must be backed by at least 1-to-1 with ultra-safe cash and cash equivalents. We ensure transparency and accountability with respect to these issuers to maintain consumer confidence. That's because we require stablecoin issuers to comply with redemption requirements, monthly disclosures of reserve composition, and Sarbanes-Oxley-like attestations and regular audits. Regulators can look under the hood of a stablecoin issuer by examining the nature of its operations, its financial condition, and more. And we prohibit commingling and rehypothecation of reserves and ensure that stablecoin issuers are compliant with the Bank Secrecy Act and Graham-Leach-Bliley. We enable both depository institutions and, under certain conditions, non-bank firms to issue stablecoins.
All right, so that's the act itself. Pretty straightforward. It's going to be a scenario that does play in favor, I think, of stablecoins. It also will set the cornerstone of the crypto and blockchain markets for sure, and that, I think, will have a big effect on traditional investors coming into this market if the Stablecoin Act does get in place. Now, one thing that did happen was negotiations broke down a little bit between this, because if you remember yesterday when we did the video on the regular crypto market bill, the thing that was occurring between Maxine Waters and also Patrick McHenry was they seemed to be an understanding. That changed. Listen to this next clip.
The chair would also like to announce that the Agriculture Committee, as of 12:30 today, in a 2.5-hour markup, passed the Fit for the 21st Century Act bill by voice vote. Man, oh man, was that sweet. I'd like to start today by saying I am disappointed. Today, I had hoped to announce an agreement with the ranking member on stablecoins legislation. This will not be the case. Instead, we will move forward with the bill that was originally noticed for today's markup, published at the beginning of June. To be clear, this was by no means the fault of the ranking member or her staff, and I want to commend them for their work over the last 15 months of negotiations. Unfortunately, there was a third party in this negotiations that did not share that same sense of urgency, the White House. A bipartisan deal was within reach. We were closer than we've ever been. It's a shame, but at some point you have to put the pen down in a negotiation.
All right, so President Biden obviously stepped in with the administration, put a little pressure on Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters caved and conceded. And of course, now you've got Patrick McHenry coming in and saying, all right, no problem, we're going to back it up. All those amendments, all those things that we agreed to, we're going to back up and go back to the original bill that we proposed prior to all those negotiations. So I think that Maxine Waters was probably quite a bit distraught here. In fact, let's listen to this next clip. You'll get a chance to see.
Thank you, Chairman McHenry. Good morning. Today, this committee is being forced by the extreme MAGA wing of the Republican Party but the chair is impatient and has decided to abruptly end our negotiations and move forward with a bill that is deeply problematic. And we don't have the support of those who ask us to get involved with a stablecoin bill to begin with.
This is a very interesting time because right now the House and Patrick McHenry has the vote. It's very clear they already know where this is going to go. The key is how does this play out in the actual House vote and what goes to the floor there? My guess is there's a lot of negotiations happening at this point, and it was most likely a power play from the Biden administration to put a little pressure on and possibly add something into the bill. And I've been involved in these kinds of lobbies before in DC with other industries, and I've seen those kind of backroom negotiations take place, and it's where they get these bolt-ons that happen around these. So very interesting. She's clearly reading from something that didn't agree with yesterday, and then basically after that, this clown show began. So we'll start showing you some of the clown show, just so you understand the legislation process that our country goes through to get kinds of things like this for everyday Americans passed. Let's go to this next clip on their stall tactics.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the
I
motion to
request a
table is
recorded
agreed
vote.
to. A recorded vote is requested. The clerk will report the bill, which was distributed in advance.
I object to waiving the first reading of the bill.
Mr. Chairman, I move to dispense with the reading of the bill.
The motion
I
is not
object to
debatable.
waiving the first reading of the bill.
Question, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed
I
shall say nay.
request a recorded vote.
The ayes have it.
I request a recorded vote.
At this point, we'll
I
have
object to waiving the second reading of the bill.
the ranking member objects. We'll proceed with the reading section by section. The clerk will read.
H.R. 4766, a bill to provide for the regulation of payment stablecoins and for other purposes.
State. The term state means each of the several states. Section 3, limitation on...
Mr. Chairman?
Gentleman from,
I do have an amendment that affects Section 2. Is now the time to bring that up?
All right, so I'll leave it there in the sense that the clownfoolery that is happening there in Capitol Hill, this is what we, pretty much elect our officials to do, is go in there and play these games as opposed to really trying to do something for the American public and negotiate some sort of terms, at least concede, try to come up to an agreement on that. This is where it gets a little crazy. Just so you guys know, we had to go through this for you again in terms of just really watching, deciphering, breaking down all this footage and then coming out with these clips to give you a breakdown of where this is going. 42 pages there on the House Rep Bill 4766, just to give you an idea of what is this bill. This is the one, as McHenry stated, the one they presented back in June, and that is what is going to go most likely to the House floor. Well, will go to the House floor because it was voted in. But I want to show you a couple of things here that will matter because this is going to be something that you guys can help out on. And what I mean by that is getting with your local representatives, your House reps in your own districts, your own cities, your own states. Activate now because this will assist them in either understanding what their constituents want, and it also gives them more insights on where the market pressures are coming from. And this is going to be very critical as we move to the vote coming in September. So a lot happening here For sure. All right, so this next clip right here is where it gets a little crazy on the floor. Listen in.
Now we're being ruled out of order, but we want to be heard and we want to have input on this. We do have miracles every once in a while where an amendment is actually agreed upon, like we did yesterday. If we were to wait till September to do this, you could get exactly what you want, and we would have the opportunity to have amendments be considered. Not passed, not accepted, but at least we would be given the opportunity, as the minority usually is, to have some input on this bill.
Okay.
Because we each represent about 800,000 people in the United States, and they would like to have a voice in this hearing.
Come to order.
What are we talking about? We've got
Gentlelady's
time.
time's
Why don't we
expired.
continue to work on this? What is the rush? How can you?
Order.
No. Hey. We're going to lower the decibels. I understand the tension in the room. We are 15 months into this process. The markup that we had yesterday, I had previously scheduled for the two weeks before, delayed it 1 week to accommodate internal conversations between Democrats and Republicans on textual changes. And I delayed the markup 1 week further in accommodation of the negotiations that Mr. Lynch referenced with the White House. We had high hopes 48 hours ago that we were going to come to conclusion. And then the White House reviewed where we were and disagreed. So we'll move forward under accordance to the rules.
Mr. Chairman, going to speak for 30 seconds?
Gentleman is asked to be recognized, Mr. Chairman.
No, hearing no amendments to Section 6, we're going to Section 7.
Mr. Chairman, I have to object. You're not reading the entire section. You're just reading the first couple of sentences of it. You didn't read. Section 5 is several pages long.
The section title is read and open for amendment. Clerk will continue.
Yes, excuse me, I have requested, I have a Section 8
Section
amendment
8?
that I have spoken.
Oh, there's amendment to Section 8 of the bill. The clerk will report.
Amendment to H.R. 4766, offered by Mr. Foster.
Without
of
objection, the
Illinois.
amendment will be considered as read.
What is planned, Mr. Chairman? How do you plan to proceed with the bills and the amendments that we have?
I would ask the ranking member the same question.
All right, so you can kind of see it's getting a little testy there around all of this. And I think the scenario, again, put Maxine kind of in a bad spot coming out of the White House, which is where it's kind of set it up for. Again, more amendments that play into this. Sherman's amendment is an interesting one. Listen in.
And what does this amendment do? It simply says that the SEC will be the regulator. So we'll have excellent consumer protection and investor protection. We'll provide clarity to the industry and provide it immediately. So I know what industry wants. They do not want effective regulation. They're willing to live with uncertainty until the day when they can get what they really want, which will be hopefully when hell freezes over, but certainly after it will take more than a year and a half.
In our Fit for the 21st Century Act, Section 302 of our bill yesterday, the committee approved 35 to 15 on pages 82 to 84, in fact, has payment stablecoins under the authority of the SEC. And in Title IV of that bill, the SEC and the CFTC both have anti-manipulation oversight. That's on page 119 to 121. And then I would remind my friend that because of the nature of these companies, they're all subject to things that we've already talked about yesterday extensively, from anti-fraud to AML to BSA.
The question now occurs on the amendment offered by the gentleman from California, Mr. Sherman. All those in favor shall signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed shall signify by saying nay.
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Recorded vote being requested pursuant to subsection C5 of Rule 3 of the committee rules. Further proceedings on the amendment are postponed. Is there further amendment or discussion?
Mr. Chair, I have an amendment at the desk.
All right, so you can kind of see. And of course, the hell freezing over date, well, there it is right in front of you, 1,042 days. Once Gensler is out of the way, I think obviously we understand the whole connection. And everybody's been asking why this Sherman character has been so negative against this. We'll show you why. We've actually done some research for you to give you an idea of why he's so connected to the SEC. Just so we're clear, this is what happened. In the final tally of the committee, they approved the bill with a 34-16. This is where the House pretty much has control right now. Interesting, though, a few Democrats chose to defy their senior members on the panel and supported the legislation. That's a pretty significant step in D.C. when you are defying the senior member in those committees and going ahead and voting for these. What it tells me is we do have some bipartisan position here. That is a very good sign. It also is a good sign that there are some opportunities here between amendments and adjustments in this bill before it does go to the House. But the biggest issue right now, and I want you guys to watch for this, we'll probably be able to see this happening real time between now and September, is the input we're going to see coming from the White House. And that's my question. What is that going to be? What are going to be the concessions that the White House is going to ask for, or what are going to be the concessions that the House asked for to try to get this through? All right, let's go in, and I want to show you another clip here on McHenry and Maxine Waters and why I think this is a very important relationship. Watch.
And if the gentlelady will yield.
I yield.
We will continue to talk, and from time to time, we've had disagreements, and we've done so openly, and over time, we've still been able to talk and work together. And that may be messy at times, and it was messy today. But at the end of the day, we have the floor process here and the Senate to negotiate with, and the White House, and those things will continue.
I think McHenry was actually very open there, and I think he opened it up for Maxine to try to come together again. And this is what good politics do, and that is always open for ideas, better ideas, and more information. If you got more data, if you got more information, then that's how these things move along. Let's go into this next video. It talks about the Keep Your Coins Act. Listen in to Davidson.
Fundamentally, this bill titled the Keep Your Coins Act of 2023 does just that. It protects the right of individuals to keep their coins, not your keys, not your coins. There's a public key that's on a distributed ledger. The private key is the part that unlocks it, and you can convey the custody of that token, key, coin to someone else by the way you sign it. And right now, self-custody is not illegal, but there have been efforts by Secretary Mnuchin, as he was outgoing Secretary of Treasury, to try to limit self-custody. And certainly there are members of this committee that call for limitations, essentially on the ability to own your own private property. It comes with risks. Most people aren't going to choose self-custody, but they can, and we should defend it.
Defend it, in fact, because those are property rights. It's one of the inalienable rights of the Constitution, and it's one of the things that protects us as Americans to be able just to kind of provide for our families, our businesses, our communities. These are very big, overarching positions that the House is basically facing right now. Davidson, of course, I think is very in front of this. He understands where the pressures are coming from. He understands how Treasury's involved. This is a big one, but the good thing is it also went through. So very interesting stuff right now. I want to get into this next clip because this is where Sherman is trying to explain self-custody. So listen in.
I rise in opposition to the bill. Now, it is true that with the U.S. dollar, you can host your own wallet. It's made out of leather. You can put a few $100 bills in it, but you can't commit the massive frauds and the massive outlaw activities and the fraud against bankruptcy courts and the fraud against family courts and the fraud against the IRS with the number of $100 bills that you can stick in a leather wallet. I couldn't oppose this bill more. It is everything that I oppose when I talk about cryptocurrency.
It wouldn't make sense to say that Americans are only free to transact on an intermediated basis and cannot transact on their own behalf. This should be an easy concept to support. However, we are seeing coalitions rally around the exact opposite concept. Specifically, a number of central banks have entertained or even embraced central bank digital currencies. As for illicit activity, I would make a note that Chainalysis, a digital asset compliance and investigation software company, issued its annual report earlier this year that examines illicit activity in this space. In their report, they state, quote, illicit activity in cryptocurrency remains a small share of overall volume at less than 1%, close quote. Therefore, a lot of these arguments against this industry are supported by less than 1% of the transactions in the digital asset market. Why do we need to punish all Americans by arguing to take away their property rights when less than 1% of transactions correspond to illicit activity?
All right, so listen, guys, this is the same argument only 25 years later that the birth of the internet spawned. And I think it's no different now. If you look in the reference of the research was right there on chain analysis. The breakdown is pretty significant all the way back here from obviously 2019 prior to the bull run. And then you see a massive drop off, even with the problems with FTX and et cetera. Crypto, as many people understand, it is not completely transparent in the sense that there's a lot of forensics capabilities versus cash, which is the least capable of forensics in terms of tracking where illicit activities occur from, AML issues, all those kind of things. This, I think, is going to be a big pushing point, and I think it's going to win overall because it does protect the rights of Americans, and that's the main thing really going forward. Let's go to another clip by Sherman. We have to show you more on this guy.
This is the heart of crypto. Crypto tells you what it is. Cryptocurrency literally means hidden money. If you're going to hide, you want to hide your identity. You hide your identity by hosting your own wallet.
Cryptocurrency is an explanation for a blockchain-enabled technology that has encryption at its core and a cryptographic key. And cryptography is defined as the art of writing or solving codes.
So we're back to the point of who is Brad Sherman? That's everybody's question. Why is he so adamant about pushing against everything that is blockchain, everything that is innovation? Well, let's just take a look. Brad Sherman right here, top industry right now, securities investment. That's where his biggest investments come from in terms of supporting Brad Sherman. And if you look further down in here, you've got Fidelity, ouch. Blackstone, probably one of the most evil guys out there, and all of this tied into securities investment, real estate, etc. All right, so right at almost 300,000 going into this, and as you continue further down, you can kind of see everywhere else, large individual contributions right here, almost 1.2 million, PAC contributions over 905,000, so pretty significant, large individual corporations and securities and investments being the primary goal. So obviously he's in bed with the SEC. He's in bed with anything that represents the SEC. And everybody kind of now understands that. And it's a very open thing within the Washington community in terms of House reps, senators, etc., of who are your backers? Who are the people who help support your campaigns? And the good thing is, here in the United States, all of that is wide open and easy to get to. All right, so let's get into a couple other things I wanted to jump in on. One, of course, is this right here, Blackstone. This is the other one that plays into this. Now, Blackstone is I think, one of the more detrimental firms out there. And, just in the essence of what they've been caught doing, just one thing that they were caught doing right here is private equity advisors now paying $39 million. They were charged with disclosure failures. Basically, what that simply means, anytime you're doing investments, disclosures are required to all potential investors. If you fail to disclose, it's basically like you just lying about it. All right, so this last clip is just the final vote for self-custody. Listen in.
There are no further discussion, debate. To H.R. 4841, the question now occurs on the adoption of the amendment in the nature of substitute offered by the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Davidson. All those in favor shall signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed shall signify by saying nay.
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The ayes have it, and the amendment in the nature of a substitute is adopted.
All right, so there you have it. H.R. 4766, Clarity for Payment of Stablecoins Act 2023, passed through in a significant amount. And also H.R. 4841, Keep Your Coins Act, that's the vote you just saw, also passed through by Rep. Warren Davidson. So good signs, when we assess this. I think that the digital currency side of this, especially when you look at digital assets as a whole, the bill that went through yesterday is most likely going to be the one that actually may get more traction in the House. However, I think there is something waiting in the wings for this stablecoin. And there may be something here from the White House because of FedNow, because of what's happening within the Biden administration that could play into this as a leveraging point to put something into this bill. And this is a typical strategy of not only the White House, but also by the Democrats and Republicans, is that they look at ways to insert something that gets their part of whatever industry into something that in some cases doesn't even have a relevance to what the bill's about, but it gets the bill through. That's very possible going to be the scenario here for getting it through the House. Now, just remember, this is the first step for both these bills, both these days of reporting that we've done. It's the first step to get to the House. If it passes the House, it's going to go to the Senate, and if it goes through the Senate, it is now law. That is the cool thing that, to me, I look at this and I think we are further along than we have ever been in the history of blockchain, the history of cryptocurrency, the history of Bitcoin. There is a lot happening right now, and it's going to be a big next few months as we get ready to gear up for next year's elections, which I think will be a much bigger position around all of this. But remember, we still have a lot of pressure because everybody's been asking me, why isn't Bitcoin flying? Why isn't all these things starting to take off with this good news? I think the situation still is we've got so much pressure from a, I will say limping economy that could be going into a recession. And I think that's the reason we're seeing some of the market pressures right now. All right, if you guys like this, make sure and smash the like button. That's the one thing that will help others find out about this. It's going to help this video find its way out there and maybe start to educate people on the first time they ever have even thought about cryptocurrency or thought about blockchain or Web3, any of that. So all you have to do is do your part. Hit that like button. It will really help out. If you're not part of our Diamond Circle, make sure and get in. It's very easy. It's free. All you have to do is click the link down below. Catch me out there on X, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.